Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to the show Weebs of the Ring podcast, covering for Monday Night Raw of 11/4/24. We are on November already. We're on the road to Survivor Series, and the more Bloodline drama erupts. We're here for episode 82 under the umbrella of AniMa W3 Studio, stands for animation, manga, wrestling, webtoon, and entertainment, to bring the representation for the Weebs. And for this night, Stampede for the Raw coverage is Jimmy and Jay confront Sami. The brothers continue their communication, the problems that they gotta settle out. But then Jay said, yo, I welcome you to Friday Night SmackDown. Let's talk about it like a family. Because Sami, you are an Uso. That's what Jay said. And everyone erupted. But then we had our World Heavyweight title, our Gunther next challenger, with a fatal four-way of Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Dirty Ass Dom, and Sheamus. But then the number one person that came on top was Damian, because we called it on this past Saturday Crown Jewel coverage that our boy Bronson Reed came to interrupt for Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins said, I'll see you in the distant future. Like Michael Cole said, it came a lot faster. But then for our mid-card stories, we have a world title battle royal. Who came on top? And a few people gotta plant the seeds for future rivalry. We have the Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable. We had New Day versus the World Raiders. But then we had the Y6 story continue with the Miz being captured. He was kidnapped. He was being tortured. That is our Stampede. So without further ado, are you ready for the Weebs of the Ring episode 82 and the Monday Night Raw coverage tape show? Well, let's get to it.
With anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control, we are a trio of weebs here to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, about the entertainment of professional wrestling. Because, hey, we love that shenanigans and all that. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling events of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all you nerds out there. So grab your steel chair, yell for the table, and get put through an experience unlike any other. Brought to you by AniMa W3 Studios, this is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. Welcome to Monday Night Raw. We got the coverage going on from a Raw presented to you in Saudi Arabia. I don't remember the last time we had a... Well, no, Raw and SmackDown usually do have some pre-taped stuff overseas, but this is the first one we've done in Saudi. So the first one they've done after like a big PLE and a big tour and all that. So I guess they're testing the waters for these international shows, at least from the Monday Night Raw perspective. But as always, I am your world champion Watkins here to talk to you guys about the event, and I am never alone, for you see, I have two lovely people on my shoulders to tell me the good, the bad, and the very mid that can happen within professional wrestling. Of course, as always, on my right shoulder, we have the visionary himself, Legend D Vash. Vash, how you doing tonight?
Like you said, I'm the visionary, legendary Vash, and we said it on this past Saturday that Bronson Reed will come interrupt this match forward. So he said, yo, I still got my eyes on you. Godzilla's going to come here and wreak some havoc, and that's what he did. He took everyone out, so the visionary came to light. It came true. It was nice.
Exactly. Oh, man, it came true all right. And of course, to my left shoulder, we have the genius of the mat himself. Drop this a box. Drop, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Today officially begins the road to Survivor Series.
I know, Sydney. Sydney's excited for Survivor Series. I know, right? You love war games, don't you, girl? Yeah.
We're also gonna be seeing a announcement for this Wednesday NXT, so we are curious to see what's gonna be leading up to Survivor Series and what it could all lead up to.
Yeah, well, it's basically like pure speculation, though, so I wouldn't say anything's concrete because we don't necessarily know if it's going to lead to that. It could definitely lead into like the breakout tournament or something. But
oh, that's right. It's around that time of the year for that.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, hey, as always with our Monday nights, chat, join in on the conversation as we dive deep into, excuse me right there for a second, as we dive deep into Monday Night Raw. It was a decent show filled with some good action and a lot of spoilers if you were online this weekend
So
from
I have
the
to ask,
pre-tape.
now that we have seen the show, for anybody, this is a full spoiler coverage show. So you here must mean that you
I
have
would
missed
hope
the
so.
show, or and you either want to see the highlights from us and our opinions, or you have seen the show and want to see highlights and opinion coverage. But I want to ask you guys was actually spoiled about this tape show. What were the key points that you guys were spoiled about? Because I wasn't so far until until 7:30 p.m. of this Monday is when I saw an IG reel of Jey Uso, Jimmy, and Sami in the middle ring. That's the only thing I saw.
Basically everything except for the Chad Gable Dragon Lee match and
Yeah.
the videotape. Oh, and the New Day and the Miz thing.
Yeah.
Everything
same.
else I saw, and I'm like, oh, okay. That was it. That was basically
Oh,
it.
wow,
I was
okay.
just like, all right, cool. Like everything,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
playing
didn't
out.
necessarily take anything away from the show for me when I was watching it. It was
Yeah.
basically more like, okay, where is this going to lead to? Which obviously we'll discuss. But
If anything, the women's stuff,
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I was spoiled on that, because if we had done the show and I had reacted to it, and I'm sure Drop kind of feels the same, it's somewhat similar as I do. Like if I had seen that and reacted to it tonight, like in real time, we would probably be having a way different conversation. But
Yeah.
it's at least a little eased, just because
Yeah.
like of possibilities. But we'll get into that when we get to that. So we're gonna start right now with our main story here. The main story going forward here, it's got to be the Bloodline stuff, because like we had some huge story implications going on, stories being pushed forward. Jimmy and Jay confronting Sami out of his actions that happened at Crown Jewel, with him quote unquote accidentally hitting Roman Reigns in the face. So basically, Sami comes out, he wants to talk about what happened, and gets immediately interrupted by Jey Uso, who gets interrupted by Jimmy Uso. They just want to, Jey wants to know whether or not Sami did this on purpose. Jimmy wants nothing of it, but Sami, being the smart babyface he is just like, look, you want to talk about my loyalty? Let's talk about your loyalty. Runs down everything that Jimmy's done since the Bloodline became a thing, and Sami doesn't want any part of it now. He just wants to walk away, but Jay invites him to SmackDown to just have a nice little discussion.
Yeah.
Guys, what did we think about this whole segment right here? A lot of talking going on, a lot
Yeah.
of back and forth with everybody, but talk to me. How are we feeling just initially when it came to this Bloodline segment tonight?
So when I was expecting something like this to happen, like regardless seeing the spoilers or not. I mean, it was kind of a given we were going to see something like this happen. But this is like one of the things I wanted to see, because obviously we know that everything wasn't going to be set in stone. So I like how we're taking things with a realistic approach when it comes to this, because one of the things that was brought up that I believe we talked about, and I saw other people talk about this as well when it comes to JD, Solo Monster, other people that I watch when it comes to coverage and stuff. One of the things that is the key difference between Roman's bloodline and Solo's bloodline is that Solo's bloodline has everything together. They're able to cooperate. But with Roman's, I mean, it's just a team getting put together right now, and not everybody's really seeing eye to eye with that, which is why we ended up leading into the result that we got. And you could clearly see that on Monday, because there's still tension there. There's still drama, like we saw with Jimmy and Sami on the show, which I found very interesting, because it's like Sami brought up, you know, when Sami was first brought into the not Judgment Day, God damn it. When Sami was first brought into the Bloodline, Jimmy was exactly how Sami said. So it's kind of interesting to see roles reversed. And now that Jay's pretty much that guy that Jimmy was once before, which is one of the things I was hoping he would bring up. And that's the thing I like about Sami, is that Sami's actually very smart, and he brings a lot to the story, believe it or not. I mean, one of the things a lot of people were saying when we were getting into this story again is that once Sami gets involved, you're gonna get things like cracked up to like 100. Like, he's gonna bring a lot of emotion in here. He's gonna be bringing in a lot of realistic scenarios. He's pretty much going to like really drive the story to a deeper level, because that's what he did when he became the honorary Uso. When that whole thing was going on, he brought so much emotion into the story, and that's why everybody was tuned in every single SmackDown to see what was going to be happening next, because he really added a lot of weight. And it's crazy just to see somebody like Sami Zayn having that much an effect just by inserting one character like that. Just seeing the sort of impact that they had, it's just pretty crazy to think about. But I like how we're doing this, because we need to tell another story leading into Survivor Series. We got to get the follow-up. We got to see exactly how are these guys going to align with one another, because we still have another ongoing issue, which is Roman Reigns, and obviously you're going to see them converse on Friday. And I am very interested to see the exchange of words when it comes to that, because it's like I said before, I like how we're taking a realistic approach to this. I like how everything isn't rainbows and unicorns. I like how things are just like, it just feels realistic. And when you get that realistic feel when you're watching a wrestling program, it just makes you get really invested into the story, because it's almost like you're watching a movie and you're seeing everything play out over time. It's just more interesting when you have that realistic approach, because it feels so real. We obviously know the stories are written a certain way, but it still doesn't change the fact that they're written in a way that keeps us invested, where we want to tune in every week. I mean, good example, look what they did tonight to build up to Friday. It makes the three of us and everybody else want to tune in on Friday to see exactly what is Sami going to say? What is Roman going to say? When is Paul Heyman going to come back? You know, stuff like that. That's a lot of things that people are going to be bringing up, because as soon as Sami got involved again, a lot of people were excited about it, because I could admit, when it comes to certain parts of the Bloodline, we got some hits, we got some misses. But once Sami gets involved, you're going to be getting constant hits over and over and over again, because he was the bread and butter with everything back then when the story originally started. So that's
the best part too is like it is mainly like the Roman part too, because it's like even Sami said like, I don't want to be put on trial by your family again.
Oh yeah, that too.
And
I love
it's
that.
like, okay,
that's one of my
same here.
hearing that, like him saying like, I've been on trial already by your family. I don't need to prove my loyalty. And like, if I'm here, trust
Same thing
me
with Jay.
And I felt that because for anybody that's friends related or friendship related, know that sometimes some friendships, their trust is broken, and you gotta not pick and choose to regain that trust, or you can't trust that person ever again. And to see that on the screen done well from in a wrestling standpoint, knowing that, hey, this is just family. And when fucking Jay screams, "Say you're Jimmy Uso, I'm Jay Uso, that is Sami Uso," the crowd erupted. It just showed
it just adds a lot more,
considering
the kind of relationship that Jay and Sami had, looking back to the beginning all the way up until now, because Sami was always nice to Jay. Jay didn't want anything to do with them, so it's just crazy to see that turnaround effect with it. And I also just like the realistic approach as well, because Jay and Sami are put into similar situations as well, where they don't want things done to them, because that was the main reason why they left in the first place. That's why Jay was so conflicted when Sami turned on Roman for the first time, because he was put in a situation where he didn't know what he wanted to do with himself.
And like I think too, another good takeaway, it kind of piggybacking off the idea of like the realism and all that. Jay literally references that, oh yeah, I looked back and watched the footage. So like you're acknowledging that your baby faces are smart, because not only do you have Jay being like, yeah, I looked back to check the footage to make sure that wasn't the thing. So it's like, okay, your stars are actually watching the product and not just taking it all at face value. You know, we saw that back at SummerSlam when Damian Priest looked up at the big monitors or whatever, and saw the replay.
Really?
Like,
you really fucked me up.
Really? Yeah. So like I like how we're having our baby faces actually be smart, because like it's not only just like Sami pointing out all the stuff that Jimmy did and being like, look, what about your loyalty, blah blah blah, but it's like Jay's being like, I looked back just to see what was going on. And the fact that Jay asked the question, did you hit Roman on purpose? And we never got an answer for that. Like we never
Yeah.
still got a straight answer for it. So whether that question gets answered or not on Friday, I don't know yet. But it's funny how we didn't get that answered at all tonight. And one thing too I wanted to point out as well, like, and you'll hear me talk about this in the next segment too, body language was key with all of this. Because like Sami coming out, like he's excited, obviously to be in Saudi Arabia, it's, part of his people and all that, his heritage and everything. But then like when Jay comes out, like normally he's coming out partying, doing the yeet stuff and all that. Tonight was different. He was there for business because like he's hurt, because it's like, he has to deal with like the family stuff, and now that Sami's getting back involved, he has to deal with the Sami stuff as well. So like now he's put back in the middle of all this. So he's having to like be pulled in different directions, be like, I trust Sami, I trust my trust Jimmy, but it's like, what does he do? What am I supposed to do? And like he just wanted to come out and get answers, to be like, did you do that on purpose or not? Was it actually an accident? Then you have Jimmy coming out here and just like, he's all pissed off and like, oh, I didn't know, like all yandere almost towards Sami. And like even when Sami was running him down too, like you see Jimmy, like he doesn't want to admit it. And it kind of like Roman in an aspect, because like I'm sure Jimmy can understand that Sami's right in what he's saying. That's why he didn't really fight him back against all that stuff. But like you could just see it in the body language. It's like he doesn't want to admit that Sami's right, because that's the thing. Once he admits Sami's right, it's like, then I mean that's just the thing. Like nobody wants to be proven wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong in a situation like that. But like his pride just won't allow him to be wrong. So it's like I love just seeing the body language in all of everybody, not only in this segment but in later segments that we're gonna get here later on. But I kind of want to pivot over to you, Vash. Like, talk to me about like what were your takeaways from this whole segment going forward, like especially with like Sami being like, at one point for a minute it felt like old times again. So I want to hear from you. What did you think of all this?
As somebody like, always like to add this context to the fans and audience, because we did start our show with the Ring this year, the content, this branch under the umbrella of AniMa W3 Studio this year. So a lot of people don't know the history of what we have seen or what. So myself, like, who came in the middle of the Sami with the Bloodline, seeing the Uzi, seeing Roman and Jay break it in the ring, that the Contender laugh, all those, I agree with Sami. It felt like we was watching old times. Even Sami was happy about it. He said, yeah, having myself, you guys, and Roman in the middle of the ring, us going against Solo, like, it felt like old times. It felt like, I don't know why I had this reference in my head, but I felt like the old Red Power Rangers coming together and just doing like a special highlight moment. That's what it felt to me. The most off, weird type of reference of Power Rangers were wrestling here, but
no,
that's what it felt like.
Bring the off references. Bring it. That's what we're here for. Give me the off one. Give it to me.
I felt the experience from seeing that, but still was amazing to see that possibility with the characters we have. But Sami said it true. I like how he was honest. He was 10 toes stood in front of him, saying, I don't want to prove myself no more. You either trust me who I am, and I can still help you. And Jay appreciated it. Like, yo, even though if you did attack Roman or not, I appreciate you protecting me. I appreciate you coming to help me. So I really appreciate that. Like, hey, if you attack Roman, then we got issues that we got resolved. But I still appreciate you helping me out. So I really appreciate just hearing that from Jay and Sami. I don't think, and I hope we don't find out the answer. I feel like I hope that line kind of becomes like a MacGuffin. Like, don't be heard, don't find out. Let it be a mystery of, if we do find out, probably let it be found out like in Survivor Series, like a mystery, like how NXT sometimes always has a mystery of like who attacked who at the parking lot. Let me guessing like, hey, we can't find that answer because we have other things in being important.
Mhm.
I kind of hope that on Friday, like as I have a feeling if things get heated enough on Friday, Sammy's gonna let out a line to be like, you know what, I did feel good doing that. You know, even if it was an accident, like he could say a line like that, and it adds just a little bit more tension leading into War Games, because that's the thing. Like, there's gonna be a lot of tension in this match going forward, and the whole crux of it is them like as the old bloodline and all that coming together and actually being a unit. Because like even Sammy said it, like even when he said, you know, for a moment it felt like old times, but then just like old times, it ended up crashing down and burning and all that. So it's like
One of the funniest
even if
things
they
that I
were
saw
together,
on the
yeah,
timeline, that the reason they weren't a unit is because they didn't color coordinate or have their whole coordination of their outfits. Of, you know, how Roman was shirtless and then Jimmy had red, and then Jay had his blue and pink and white, and then Sammy was just a whole dare coming out of nowhere. It's like, you know, funny enough, that is kind of showing you, like, the bloodline, the OG was always the sports, and then the new ones is where, you know, Sue and Ty. So it's kind of showing that, you know, joking aspect when it comes to them working together.
yeah. And also too, like another thing, this was acknowledged on commentary as well, because Michael Cole had said something about how Jay had succeeded so well as a single star, and then Corey immediately is just like, all right, well, what about Jimmy? Well, look at what happened with Jimmy when the bloodline went their separate ways and dissolved and all that. Like, he kind of ate the worst part of it all. You know, he didn't see any success as a single star. He ended up, you know, losing a lot, getting his ass kicked, and then eventually like getting destroyed by Solo's new
Well, for
bloodline. So
me,
it's like,
I can't count Jimmy having a solo run because he was still with the bloodline, and he was still,
yeah,
you know, being under Solo and going with the Wiseman stuff. So I can't really count what Corey said to face value when he didn't really have a solo run to that extent.
I felt like
I think that's what he was going for. You know,
yeah.
it's just
I
like,
also
yeah,
I also felt like the story didn't really call for it because it was more in Jay's favor of breaking out, really. So that's why it made sense for Jay to go out with and go for a solo run and gain all the success from it. Because from his perspective, it made more sense to venture down that direction.
exactly.
What I'm curious though when it comes to this, because I know that our conversation is dwindling down for this Jay and Jimmy and Sammy, is what is going to lead up to a Roman? How are they going to handle this? Because we know by the end we're going to have the new bloodline is going to come out, interrupt. So we know that's going to lead up to a fight of 4 versus 4. I wonder how Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce is going to, like, hey, this has to be a thing for War Games. So is it going to be announced for this Friday if they have a fight, or was it going to probably follow for another week and they lead up to the fight?
I could see them, like, I mean, there could be a confrontation and all that. But maybe next week gets the announcement, because that's the thing. Like, the old school, the OG bloodline have to come together. They have to show that they're a unit and to actually agree to the the War Games match. So like, I could see a thing. I could see Solo not even I mean, he could come out there and all that, but I could actually just see him more antagonizing, or like more just poking the bear of like the issues that they're doing and all that. Like, again, not even coming to blows, just teasing them more, because that's the thing. They won clean at Crown Jewel. Like, as much as you want to say, you know, what happened in the match, they basically did win clean, you know. So it's like Solo, and I mean, there was even footage like of their tour going on right now. Like, Solo's like really like getting into his character and all that.
He
like,
really
flicking
is.
off the audience and all that. Like, it was kind of funny to see.
Plus his promo with Captain Kelly, I believe it was, after Crown Jewel, he actually did one of his best promos to me.
Oh, nice. I'd have to go back and check that out, but like I did hear some good things about that interview he had.
Oh, I was very impressed, and he actually spoke value of what he's doing with the bloodline, and like, Solo is one of the only two people that have pinned right now John Cena and Roman Reigns at Saudi Arabia right now. So that's pretty also a cool nitbit too.
Yeah. Yeah, he does pretty well in Saudi, and yeah. So the only other thing I'd want to point out is just like possibly on Friday with like Roman getting involved with like talking to Sami. This could be another just like instance of Roman showing his old ways again, because like
Yeah.
we saw it on Saturday where like he tried to go for the tag with Jay and Jay didn't tag him to just kind of remind him, hey, you're not the boss here. We're on equal terms. So I could see like Roman maybe starting to lose his temper a little bit when it comes to Sami, and like
Yeah.
Jay not really liking that, you know. But again, that's more speculation territory with that.
I mean, I could definitely see it venturing down that direction, especially with
Yeah,
what happened at Crown Jewel, because Roman doesn't necessarily know if that was intentional or not. So I definitely
exactly.
expect him to fire back and just let out a lot of steam.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same here. So I don't know. I don't have much else to add. Again, this is more just kind of setting up for SmackDown. I feel like we're gonna get a lot more with that segment and a lot more to kind of talk about and move forward with it.
Yeah.
Because again, this is more of like the falling action leading out of Crown Jewel.
Hmm.
Yep. So we got some world heavyweight title contendership to deal with here, as Gunther, he needs a new challenger after, you know, dealing with Cody and all that. And we have a fatal four-way match to decide his number one contendership. And before we get into the match itself, I want to talk about this little interview we had with Gunther in the back, because he's talking in the back, and before he even gets a word out, he's asked about his match with Cody, how he feels and all that, and Kaiser starts like going in on Cody, being like, "Oh, Cody, he doesn't match up to Gunther, and why would you bring up the past?" Blah 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 blah. And like Gunther stops him, and is just like, "Hold on, no, Cody was the better man. He beat me. We're gonna move on. We're gonna do better. We are gonna do better. Because weren't you supposed to take care of Sheamus? And yet now he's in a number one contenders match for my title. Like
Mm.
there's something in Gunther, and
Which,
this is why. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna add to that, which actually adds
Mhm.
into what we talked about last week with that match that they had.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
makes
like
sense why the results played out that way.
exactly. Um, but like it's this is why I made the comment earlier about body language, because like we see Gunther now, and like he I mean, I'm not saying he's turning face or anything with what I'm
No.
about to say, but like we're starting to see a serious Gunther. And like when we see him later on, when he comes out after the fatal four-way match and confronts
Mm,
the winner of that,
mm,
um he's more serious. He's not like, because normally what we've seen from Gunther ever since winning the world title, he's been very smiley, very cocky. And ever since losing to Cody, it seems like he's gotten humbled a little bit. And like just his whole body language is more of somebody that's going to be taking things seriously, I think now. So like
yeah.
I think now with his promo work, we're not going to be seeing all this coming out there being all laughy, ha ha ha. Bret Hart is, crap. Bill Goldberg's better. Herpa derpa derpa dirt. Like, I feel like now
Yeah.
Gunther is going to be more serious and
I
more
like that too.
of a threat.
I
Yeah.
like that too because it fits his character a lot more.
Oh yeah, and especially with him putting down Kaiser for trying to put down Cody, because like again, that makes sense for Gunther's character. He is somebody that respects the ring. He respects the titles he holds,
Hmm.
but I think after Saturday, he's realized, all right, I was getting a little too cocky. Like
Yeah.
I was becoming something that I am not, because I
Yeah.
am the ring general. I am somebody that is a serious contender. I am a serious person, and he might have lost sight of that. And just
Yeah.
again, it's all about the body language that I was saying, like, and just
Yeah.
his face, just staring down Damian Priest, being like, "Okay, you're the next contender. I'm gonna whip that ass."
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah.
all
really
right.
enjoyed
I
that as well when it
Mhm.
comes to our boy Gunther. We have spoken about him. I was even on the hype train when it came to him during SummerSlam. I
Mhm.
believe it was Damian Priest versus our King winner, the Ring General Gunther. I was hoping, at the time, it was Damian Priest to win because I was hoping Gunther will get back to being humble. He was being too cocky lately. Him being the king and think that he was all that. Not that we finally got that, we're getting our version of him being humble, knowing that, hey, you're good, but right now you're acting like the best, but you just lost to Cody, who is now the number one title holder of the company that shows the name of the crown jewel. So I really like
Mhm.
that he did shut down Kaiser, um, and I was waiting for Kaiser because in my head I'm like, I thought Kaiser would have said like, I could be Sheamus, I could be in this fatal 4-way, but the Gunther would be like, but then that means you're versing me for my title. So I would have
Mm.
that
Mm,
would have been an interesting line as well
mm,
of Kaiser
yeah,
saying like, yeah, I could go after your title as well, but you're all the ring general, I'm not. So that would have been an interesting interaction too.
it
Yeah.
would have. But I would have to say I kind of like this approach a little more, only because it adds more characterization to Kaiser now.
Yep.
Because what's rubbing off of Gunther is also rubbing off of Kaiser now, which could
Mhm.
also put Kaiser in a situation where he should be taking things more seriously and not get hot headed over things. So that way,
Agreed.
if he's focusing on the task at hand, he can get the job done properly this time. So I
Yeah.
do like how this could progress his character in a way, which, like we mentioned before, he has a lot of potential to grow, and adding that little spark in his character could definitely elevate things where they weren't before. But
Exactly.
just to give like my thoughts on this beginning segment, because I really did like it, like
Mhm.
Watkins went already, just to add my 2 cents in it. I like, again, Gunther shows who he is. He's the ring general. He respects people that he's in the ring with. And we've seen this in instances before when it came to people that he's had matches with. He always shows them a sign of respect if they earn it. So
Yep.
what he did with Cody made sense why he approached Kaiser that way and said this and that, because even after that match he had with Cody, he could have just walked out of the ring like a typical heel, but Gunther to me is like a unique heel with the kind of way he
Mhm.
approaches things, and he just congratulated him and just walked
Yeah.
off. And even before they started their initial story, if you want to call it that, heading into this feud,
Yeah.
he admitted that he has a lot of respect for Cody, which is very rare for Gunther to really say anything like that. Is only so many people he's really said that about, like Randy, for example. Just to throw
Mhm.
another one out there. So I really do like this. So definitely a very interesting development between Gunther and Kaiser. Like I don't necessarily think anything's gonna happen between the both of them, but I do like how Gunther is putting his foot down to help Kaiser grow as well.
Yeah. Cause that's the thing. Kaiser has a lot of respect for Gunther,
Oh yeah.
you know, and like I mean they've had tiffs before. Hell, Gunther's like slapped the shit out of
Oh yeah.
Kaiser
Yeah.
before, and Kaiser's still stuck around. So it's like
Yeah.
there's a mutual respect between the two, and I mean we know that they've gone through the wrestling world together. I mean there are photos from them from like years ago going through everything. So yeah, but at least wanted to highlight that point because again, like it shows character progression not only for Gunther, but I'm glad you brought up too with Kaiser, possibly getting more serious or like starting to take things a little more seriously moving forward. But as we're getting more serious, we got to find a new serious contender, and we have a fatal 4-way match between four gentlemen who have done pretty well for themselves the past few months. We have Damian Priest versus Dirty Ass Dom Mysterio versus Sheamus versus Seth Flippin' Rollins, and match was fine. I mean, it was fun,
Hmm.
especially at the beginning with Dom trying just trying and failing at being a threat until the commercial break happened and then he was somehow on top. So it's like, all right, great, cool, neat. Thank you for showing us that, WWE.
Me, I love to
Awesome.
say that I love when it came to Sheamus and Seth. All three of them. I mean, both of them said, "Yeah, we have three gentlemen that are good for this channel." No, I believe it was Gunther and Seth. Sorry, it was Gunther and Seth, where they both say, "Yeah, there's three good competitors, in their own rights, and then we have Dom." I don't know how. Like
Yeah.
they're both like, I don't know how he got there, but he got there. Like,
Yeah.
that was a nice comment. I love how everyone was shocked that he was got there. Even when our boy Sheamus did the 10 beats as well, Seth and Damien was like, "Yeah, go ahead." But then Seth, as always, he's the visionary. He's the opportunist. He takes up the roll up.
Oh yeah, yeah. When he tried to roll up Priest for the win and all that, and it didn't really work. But I don't know. Like, I mean, the match was okay. It ends up pretty much turning into a singles match between Dom and Priest for a bit, and until Sheamus and Seth eventually get in there. But I mean, really, I feel like it didn't really get into another gear that it could have, especially from Seth Rollins, because like Seth is somebody that really puts his all into a match,
Yeah.
and it felt like he wasn't really fully into the match. I think that mainly had to deal with what ends up happening near the end of it,
Yeah.
which I mean, somebody pick up the phone because we kind of called it.
Yeah, I mean, it
From-
was. I mean, it was only a matter of time to happen, because it's like we spoke about on Saturday, and like I said, I feel like Bronson should have won the match, but I do
Yeah.
appreciate how they still made him look strong. But at the same time, it just would have been cool, just the sight of him, getting a win like that,
Yeah.
because I don't. He's a cool guy. But heading into this, I like how it happened that way, because realistically, especially like leaving off the story that you were telling on Saturday, really didn't make sense for Seth to win this match. Like, why would you tease that tension between the both of them and have Seth talk about Bronson after the match, and then just have Seth Rollins just go straight up to Gunther? Like, obviously, Bronson Reed wanted to take out his frustration, and obviously he wanted to add more layers to their feud, which more than likely is probably going to lead into Survivor Series. There's all to it. It'd be great to see them on another PLE. I don't really want to see it on a main event on Raw. I'll definitely save it for the PLE. Maybe add a little stipulation this time, because don't get me wrong, single matches are fine every once in a while, but when a feud really calls for it, I mean, throw a stipulation in there, make it interesting, spice it up. But when it came to like the overall result of this match, I mean, it made sense why it ended up being Damien, because Damien theoretically is owed a rematch when it comes to him and Gunther, because normally, like, when somebody wins the title off of you, you normally get like another shot at that title. After that, they normally move on. And they didn't really bother going through with that at all. They just completely moved past that since SummerSlam. So it makes sense why they decided to go with Damien, because that might lead into whatever's going on with Finn. So, because I do recall Finn mentioned a couple weeks ago that he doesn't want Damien in the title picture, which that whole story, I really don't know where it's going, if I'm being completely honest, because at the same time, it doesn't really seem like they're really focusing on each other, but yet you're alluding to something like that happening down the line because you don't want to see him in that light. But then you got stuff going on with the War Raiders, so it's like, I just don't really know what's going on with that. But Damien made sense, because with Sheamus, I would assume things are going to be going on with Kaiser again, since Gunther alluded to it again with Kaiser. Dom was just in there for comedy relief. And Seth Rollins obviously was in there to just extend things between him and Bronson Reed. So it makes sense. Plus, the match that Gunther had with Damian Priest was great. I mean, I personally enjoyed that match at SummerSlam.
They have great chemistry with each other.
Yeah. So I have no problem seeing that again at Survivor Series. Like, I know Raw sometimes likes doing these matches on, like, the Raw before the big PLE that's upcoming next. Just save it for the PLE, make it special.
Yeah.
Give these guys some breathing room, let them tell a story, and then when they want to get into the ring again, they get in the ring again. Because I do notice that there is some complaints when it comes to certain champions wrestling every week. It's nice to see it every so often, but they're also meant to be used as a special attraction once they get that belt. So I wouldn't want them to throw away that match on like a random Raw. But
Yeah.
I'm interesting to see where this story goes, mainly because of this new version of Gunther. Because
Oh, same here.
he didn't really say anything snotty. He just approached him, and they both looked at each other. So
Mhm.
I'm curious to see, what's going to be happening between the both of them. Because from the looks of it, Priest's sole focus is on Gunther right now, so he's probably not going to give a shit when it comes to whatever match is going on between Finn and JD and the War Raiders.
Yeah.
So I'm just interesting to see what sort of words are going to be used that are a little different from before, because he's earned Gunther's respect now after that match. So I'm just curious to see like what they're going to say with one another to really make us invested in this storyline.
Yeah. Because I mean, if Gunther goes back to like the smiley, cheap heat kind of promo next week, we might be having a whole different conversation about all this. Because because then what was the point of like the like your presentation from tonight?
Yeah, and also we've already seen it, so it's like you gotta pull something else out of the bag to make it interesting, because you don't see, like back then, you didn't see John Cena cutting the same promo on whoever he was facing. He took things that happened at that time when it came to building their feud, and he just used that to work with the program. So I'm hoping something comes. It's hard for me to really even speculate what it might be, but I'm hoping something comes out of it that gets us invested, because I'm all for the match. It makes sense. He's already deserved another shot at the title because he never really got it. I just want to know what's the lead up going to be. I don't want it to be like, you're a great wrestler, I'm a great wrestler, let's put on a great wrestling match. Like, there has to be some substance to it.
Yeah. Gee, Bookers, what were you thinking? Oh, man.
And also, we recently got that at Crown Jewel anyway, so.
Yeah, that too. Oh, man. But, so yeah, I mean, Fatal 4-Way, it was a thing. I mean, again, it was a fine match. Oh, here's a comment I want to make. So when Bronson Reed comes out for the tsunami and attacking everybody, he does a tsunami on Priest, does one on Sheamus, and like Dom is outside of the ring in the corner, like cowering and all that. And then Bronson Reed goes out, tsunami hits on Seth. But it's like there was a big chunk of time where Seth and, Bronson were setting up the table spot. There's a brief point in time where it's just like, okay, Dom, why couldn't you jump into the ring sooner to cover either Sheamus or Damian Priest to win the match? Like that part kind of took it out of me, because I'm like, okay, you're a crafty heel, we know this, so like why not just go in a little sooner? But like that's more of a nitpick more than anything,
Okay, so I take back what I said. We do have some substance when it comes to Damian Priest. So normally, guys, if you happen to come across it, sometimes when the guys talk, I try to see if there's anything that comes up on Twitter, just in case it could give us a little clue what might happen. So Damian pretty much just came out and said that he's happy he got a win over that prick, which rightfully so. I mean, he's fucking annoying. We love him, but he's annoying. And then he said his sole focus is on Gunther, which we discussed. But he also mentioned Bronson Reed, where he said, I'm not more a contender. I'm going to become champion again. And when I do, just realize there's a receipt for you too. So now we have something blooming in the near future when it comes to Damian Priest and Bronson Reed, which I like, because we obviously know that Seth is dealing with Bronson Reed only to prolong that Punk feud that will probably get some build up, I would assume, before the end of the year.
Hopefully.
because you got to give some room for those two because they have a lot of history to really build a very compelling story. But
Yeah.
if you want to keep Bronson Reed in the main event scene, I mean, I consider Damian Priest the main eventer. This is this would probably be the next best thing for him to do. Honestly,
Yeah.
Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, you want to do something with that. I'm not entirely sure if this is like a match that's going to be coming next week. If it does happen, I wouldn't be surprised because then I expect Seth to get
Right.
involved with that. But I kind of don't want him to because I kind of want to see this play out because it'd be interesting to see Damian Priest work alongside someone else that's not named
Right.
Finn Balor and everybody else. So I actually do like that he brought up Bronson Reed now. I don't know what you guys think about that.
It would be a good feud after like, so like when Priest is done with like the whole Gunther thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming Gunther would retain over that, and then
Yeah.
Priest would probably move on to Finn to try to finish that off. I could
Yeah.
see Reed, like Bronson Reed and Damian Priest being like an early 2025 feud kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
I
like
wouldn't mind that.
maybe around Rumble time, heading into Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be like the WrestleMania match for both of them, but like I mean, it
Mm.
could be, but that it just depends on how much time they want to give for the rest of this Finn feud and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a good shout. That because like that's the good thing. That's the beauty of like planting the little seeds here and there. Because it's like, okay, we can play off of this happening. Then whether it was an accident or not, it just works for telling a story, telling something for us to like grasp onto and really grit our teeth with.
Yeah.
But Vash, you've been awfully quiet during this segment. What did you think of the whole Fatal 4-Way and all that?
I was listening and I was multitasking with some podcast feed stuff for the Weebs of the Ring and other
Perfect.
stuff for the company. So I was being productive, but listen, I was multitasking. But when it comes to this segment, like you said, Damian Priest we already had this before, so I wasn't too engaged with something I already knew the outcome once. Once we saw Bronson Reed happy, and cool, Bronson Reed's gonna be taking our boy Seth Rollins. Sheamus is not gonna win because right now there's a thing going on with Kaiser still in the background. So I'm like, okay, so it's either gonna go to Dom, being a shocker. And it's like, okay, Dom actually won and he's gonna go against our boy Gunther. That's actually gonna be a joke. Oh no, it's not. It's gonna be Damian. Then that is correct because of what Job said earlier. He actually does get to be deserved the rematch, even though he had to be a contender for it. So I don't know if this counts as the reclass or not. Either way, he got the match he rightfully deserved. And we will see when it happens. If it happens Survivor Series, I hope it does because that's something that, like Job said earlier, I did enjoy their first match over there back in SummerSlam. It was very well.
Good. All right, cool. Well, from one world champion needing a number one contender, we can pivot now to another world champion that needs a new contender because Liv Morgan now needs a new contender for her world title because, Rhea's injured now, which before we got on here, Drop had mentioned to me that he did a little bit of research on the injury that Rhea has, and I mean, there's a possibility she could be gone for about 6 months. So
Yeah.
the women's world title picture is basically changing on the fly here. So we have a couple segments here that go into finding a new number one contender. First of all, this beginning promo, welcome to Monday Night Live or however she named it or whatever. But her and her two lackeys of Raquel and Dom come out. They're trying to have a celebration because, Liv won women's Crown Jewel Championship, but they are quickly interrupted by Jade and Bianca, who they had a confrontation with not too long ago. And, Bianca and Jade want Liv and Raquel because, hey, you guys mess with us, we're not taking that lightly and all that. So they want to have a fight, but Pierce stops it. But like the interesting part from all of this is Liv driving a wedge. Finally, we're getting some seeds. We're getting something planted. Like we had talked about this on Saturday. So WWE Triple H, thank you for like listening to us. Hopefully you did listen to us if you did. But like thank you for like taking time for, or like taking consideration, I guess, into finally doing something with the Jade and Bianca split. Because like Liv had mentioned that, you know, Jade feels like she's better than you, Bianca. And like there was a comment too when they were starting to walk away, like, watch out, Jade, for Bianca stabbing you in the back. Like, finally we're getting something from all of this. Vash, what do you think of like this development going forward, you know?
You know what? If you're telling me drop the Devils, you want to drop this knowledge, and this is the knowledge that you want to drop. And it is, I love Liv for this one line she called. She said, "Welcome to my Revenge World Tour." She called it a World Tour, and I love how she changed it. A big props to her, because she's keeping the story alive. Not the story of just her character going after Rhea, but her story for what she's doing with her content as champion. And that brings value to it. It brings stock, saying that, hey, instead of Revenge Tour, now it's the World Tour. And, you know, it comes true. You know, she is champion of the world as a champion. She won Crown Jewel as a champion. So, at face value, she is speaking facts. So that's one thing I appreciate, and a big shout out to her, because she did have an interview with Chris, I think 2 weeks ago, where she did speak advocate for herself that during her time away, because of what happened from Rhea, that she broke her arm, or I believe broke her shoulder, Liv came up with the story bit, because Chris said something as a great question, saying that when you go away, the spot that you have in the story, or the spot that you have on the roster, may not be there for you when you come back. So Rhea is one of those people that right now, when she comes back, who knows where her spot will be again, because who knows who will be the champion at the time. 2, when it comes to Liv actually coming back and having a story for herself as the Revenge Tour, and now World Tour, curious to see where they're going to pivot, because we saw signs during this match and during this segment of the signs of where the possibilities could go. Liv and Raquel could go for the tag titles, take them out. They become the new tag team champions, and then Jade and Bianca could have the little scuffle of questioning their friendship and their trust. Maybe they could also have the trial on the ring, see who's the true and the liars, or who's the best EST. So that's one thing I appreciate for Liv, because I know we spoke about it on the Raw chat, saying that, wow, we finally got the seeds planted. We finally got them stupid questioning, like, who's the one. And by the way, their bodysuits are doing the little nice reference for Deadpool, probably, most likely. So that was pretty cool. I would say that's one of the best bodysuits that was, because it seems like it was fucking, like, probably superhero night. All of them has some type of, like, Wonder Woman stuff going on there as well, I believe, with Ivy Nile as well. So they had all the little cool costumes going on there.
They kept calling her like Lady Liberty on commentary. I'm like,
from Chad Gable was calling her that, and I'm like, that's a bit off. And I'm like, can you just call her Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
No.
Well, too bad in that aspect. But I really did appreciate that Liv gave the seeds. She was good on the promo. I really appreciate it. And Raquel, you got to be fired. I say every week, got to be fired as a security guard, not as a wrestler. I'm not trying to have releases out here, so don't drag me in the mud. No. I'm saying that
someone's gonna clip that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. No, we gotta get fired as a security guard. You as a security guard is not doing your job. You're not protecting Liv.
Oh, it already happened. Someone just clipped it.
Oh darn! What a shame! What tragic! They're gonna send that. They're gonna send that to Raquel, and then you're gonna get a knock on her door, and she's gonna be like, "Bitch, do you want to compare backs? You want to compare backs? Because I got a great back. Look at my back." And then she'll go ahead and kick
talking
you.
About that. How do you guys feel about Liv and Raquel taking out Bianca and Jade out of the Battle Royal?
Well, before we get into that, I do want to give my insight on the
Mm-hmm.
opening segment before we
Yes.
move on to that, because I had to have a little intermission. But so like it made sense why Liv came out to address what happened over the weekend. And one of the things that I can appreciate is her presentation this year, because compared to how she was before when she was a part of the Riot Squad and she had the colored tongue and everything like that, I mean, she's not even comparable at this point, because
Yeah.
she had a big character change this year that pretty much propelled her to be in the position that she was in, because they originally tried to venture down that route when she beat Ronda Rousey for the title, but the first act wasn't really that successful, but this is successful. So I am happy that she's at the level to perform when it comes to being in the main event picture. So at least if they have to go to somebody, if she's not champion hypothetically, they could rely on Liv, considering that she has that stature already.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mentioned before when we were talking in the Raw chat, I like how she's planting the seeds when it comes to Bianca and Jade, only because that was the one little thing that was bothering me when it comes to the whole women's tag team picture. You could have a whole bunch of matches, you could make those titles feel important. That's good if you want to make them feel that way. But I wanted something to happen between Bianca and Jade, mainly because they've been together for so long, and you gotta eventually do something with them when it comes to progressing the relationship to the next level. And I
Yeah.
like how Liv brought that up, because it actually reminded me of a point when they had this little interview. I think it was on those Hot Ones. I know they were just doing it for like fun shits and giggles and stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember Bianca was saying, "Oh, name something that you're better than me at," and she pretty much repeated back Bianca's phrase. And I know this has nothing to do with the story that's currently going on in television, but I kind of like how they're building into that, because it's almost like you're looking at them now. You know, it's just friendly competition. They're
Mm-hmm.
working alongside one another because they want those titles to feel special. They want them to feel important. But by teasing that little thing where it's like, does she really think that about me? Oh, does she really think that about me? It makes things interesting, especially when you start heading into this tag team title match that I guess apparently is going to be taking place next week,
Yeah. Yeah.
based on what I
That got
saw.
announced. Yeah.
So it's like I'm very curious to see like what other seeds are going to be planted with that. But it's like I
Mm-hmm.
like how it's brought up, because at least it's something, and it is that time of the month where we start advancing towards the WrestleMania season, so you have that build. So I like
Yeah.
how there's that little seeds there. And when it comes to like the match between Liv and Raquel versus Bianca and Jade, I mean, it could realistically venture down either direction, because if you want to, you can give another win to Bianca and Jade, but at the same time, you still want to book Liv to be strong, especially since she's not only women's world champion, and not like this necessarily matters in the near future, but just for the time being, she recently became the very first women's crown jewel champion. So you're already at her at a level where she's looking strong. And more than likely, if they were to have the match, I would assume Raquel would take the pin and not Liv. But it's like
Yeah.
at the same time, she has so much momentum under her belt. You want to keep pushing her strong. And if you
Mm-hmm.
also want to keep building that story that Liv planted tonight when it comes to that eventual split between Bianca and Jade, you could potentially have something happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see any shenanigans play out on Friday as well,
Oh yeah.
where you could potentially like lead this into something where it's like they could potentially lose the belts, and then that starts really building more tension between the both of them. So
Mm-hmm.
in a way, the next week's match is a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah. And like the cool plot too is like with the story that they're telling, like mainly with the line of,
Yeah.
"Oh, Jade thinks she's better than you, Bianca." I mean, and I've been saying this ever since they've had the titles. Whenever they eventually lose them, Bianca is going to be like, "Oh, well, I don't think she's better than me." And Jade is going to be like, "Oh, well, I don't think she's better than you, Bianca." I mean, and I've been saying this ever since they've had the titles. Whenever they eventually lose them, have Bianca be the one to take the pin.
Yeah.
Because that would just add so much more to that. And plus, mainly with Bianca, because like, and I've also said this too, like Bianca needs just a little bit more like spice in her life,
Yeah.
a little bit more like spice in the character. So like having her kind of doubt herself, because after recent interviews, like I think it was an interview that Bobby Lashley had about Bianca or something, or maybe I forgot who it was.
I think he said something how he wanted her in that Hurt Business thing.
Yeah, but like there was something where like they just can't seem to turn her heel because of how much of a role model she is for girls and all that.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
like you can't really turn her heel. So it's like, okay, what do you do with that? Well, make her doubt herself. Like make her feel like she can't get the job done. She can't win the big one and all that. And I mean that can start here with her losing the tag titles, like
Yeah.
being the reason that they lose the tag titles, and then even in the rematch, her being the reason they lost the rematch, and that could give Jade enough, fuel to be like, okay, you know what? Forget this. I'm done. I'm gonna kick you square in the face because I'm better than you, and
Yeah.
you could even, the Royal Rumble's getting closer enough, and that's usually a good place to like
Are you
start,
saying like
you know,
eliminate her or something?
kind of, yeah. Like you could do a thing where like you could have the split before Rumble,
Yeah.
or you could have it happen at the Rumble where like one of them do eliminate each other, and like maybe you could do it in a way where Bianca eliminates Jade, so it kind of
Yeah.
like gives her that one up and like that self-confidence boost again.
Yeah.
And then Jade just like, oh, hell no. Hell no, we're
Yeah.
not doing that. You may have eliminated me, but you didn't beat me, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
wouldn't mind venturing down that direction because it would be
yeah.
interesting to see that sort of character growth with Bianca. But I also wouldn't be opposed if they decide to take a risk and potentially turn her heel.
Mhm.
Hypothetically, if they venture down a direction where she has all these thoughts in her head and Jade's not really thinking that, but she strikes first, thinking that
Yeah.
Jade is going to do it before her, but she kind of wants to do it first, so she's not caught off guard. And
Mhm.
I also noticed like recently, like Montez is pretty much coming out there explaining his frustration, how he feels
Yep.
like he needs to be in a certain
Yeah.
position. So I honestly wouldn't be opposed if like I'm not saying they're going to become like a power couple or anything, but I wouldn't be opposed to like both of them turning heel and like just having that NXT Black and Gold Bianca come out, because back then she was
Yeah.
like all
Just
up in
spicy as hell
people's
from the tweets
faces.
I've seen.
Yeah, she was very
Mhm.
straightforward back then. She got into everybody's face, not like she does it now. It was definitely a lot more spicier when it came to her overall approach to things. So I wouldn't be against that, and it honestly would be good in a way if you think about it, because you have Jade with Bianca mainly to help build up Jade, and
Yeah.
you could make Jade the heel in it. But if you want to build up Jade and make her likable at first, because I definitely expect Jade to turn heel down the line, and it could happen here. But if they want to keep her as a babyface for the time being, I wouldn't be opposed of having a heel Bianca to build up Jade as like that very strong baby face that they're trying to develop her character to move to the next level with Bianca. Maybe
Yeah.
Bianca could push her to that level.
And I think the best thing too, especially with like modern WWE right now,
Mm.
is they're really good with writing their justified heels and all that. So
Yeah.
like you look at Kevin Owens, for example, it's like
Oh yeah.
you can feel his frustration with everything. You can understand why he feels hurt and all that.
Yeah.
And you could tie that in with like Jade and Bianca, because like even if you do turn Bianca, I'm just gonna say quote unquote heel,
Yeah.
like you understand why she is, and like she doesn't have to fully like be delusional or anything like that. Like she's just over the edge now. She's just like, I'm done taking crap from people. I'm gonna show you why I am. Maybe you can do a little like cocky thing kind of thing. I don't know. That's besides the point. But I do want to commend Adam Pearce because that RKO the other night must have woken him the hell up because he just walks out of here. He's just like, no, 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 no. We're not doing this. We're not having a brawl. I'm not going to have my producers come out here again and getting their butts whipped. No, we're not doing this. You two go down there. You two stay in the ring. Liv, you're a bitch, but we're going to find you a new contender because you took out Rhea. We're having a battle royal tonight. So we end up having this big old battle royal to find out Liv's #1 contender. And, you know, it was a good battle royal. You know, unfortunately, no picture to picture. So Vash, sorry about that. You're going to have to deal with commercials during this match.
This whole fight was no picture to picture. None of them. It makes me
none
question,
tonight.
like, is the USA that picks and choose, or tells them like, all right, guys, this week you can't do it because commercials or the ad revenue, blah blah blah, and the next week we could, and the next week we can't. It just gets very exhausting.
Yeah, but I mean, some good highlights from this. You know, Zelina Vega, for example, she looked really good in eliminating Ivy Nile. There was that part. There was this one moment where the Cali girls like got up on the top ropes and did like double cross bodies and all that, but that just made me think, okay, wait, they're on the top rope, and it's an over-the-top battle royal. Why would you do an over-the-top rope move?
It made no
when somebody
sense.
could just push
But
you over?
who was amazing though? Maxine Dupree for a short moment, but then got eliminated from Avinal, which was, you know, part of the story-wise, so it made sense. By our ex-best friends, but overall story-wise, made sense. And Maxine had a great moment. Like, she was happy, so excited. She tried to do the snail, and then it didn't work.
Yeah. And, I mean, a few other people of note got eliminated, you know, mainly Sonya Deville, freaking Shayna Baszler, Kairi Sane, and all that. But, like, this is where we get another seed planted for Jade and Bianca. Because, like, the final four being those two, Lyra and Io. And they think, oh, we tossed Io and Lyra out. And then they turn around and they stare at each other. And like commentary again, they put it over. It's like, okay, this is every woman for themselves. Who's going to win? Who's going to be the dominant woman here? And
So
we get the tease. We get the tease of it.
For story purposes, I get it why they did this.
Yeah.
The thing is, Jade didn't have to go help Bianca. Bianca could have defended for herself, and Jade could have just focused on Lyra. So that means if Jade stayed, it could have still helped out the feud. But then I get it, just to not right now plant the seeds too fast forward. They got Jade to help out Bianca, and they get, you know, a bit of tumble feed around there, and then they both fell, which logically makes sense. But then it's like, fuck, I didn't want that to happen. Like, I want them, at least one of them to stay, to continue like, oh, Jade stayed over Bianca. Is Jade actually the best? Or like the EST? Like, that would have been interesting.
You know what I just realized too? Because there's another good seed that was planted in this. Because we had Liv and Raquel basically cost Jade and Bianca the match.
Yep.
However, Jade tried to save Bianca. And if Jade didn't try to save Bianca, she probably could have won the match.
Exactly.
Like, they could play on that. Being like, you know, because of you and your long ass hair, you know, you not only got yourself out of there, and like, I mean, obviously Bianca can turn that around and be like, you know, you didn't have to help me. You didn't have to save me. It was every woman for themselves. But like, that's just another just fuel to the fire to just put onto the cooking of Jade versus Bianca.
I also want to give a big shout out to one of the categories, I think it was Kaden, who did a handstand walking back from the announce table to the ring, that she actually got herself in, locked herself on the bottom rope, but then I believe it was Io Sky who pushed her out right after.
As it should be. Hopefully that dropkick was very stiff.
Which I understand the dropkick was used for the smart. Io Sky waited for her to get like, yeah, get yourself on top, do all the hard work, so I could just dropkick your ass and just set you back down. I was like, damn, Io, why gotta be like that?
Look, Kaden didn't roll right back into the ring. That's
exactly right.
Fault,
she should have just, instead of being hyped, she like, yeah, guys, I did it. She turned around, got pushed. I'm like, you know, that's what you deserve to do your short excitement before you extend it too fast.
Yeah. But yeah, so we have our final two of Lyra and Io. They put on a good show here,
Really
especially
good.
when they're on the apron. And then Io with a great, an awesome, a fantastical German suplex onto the apron, onto the hardest part of the ring. Lyra just falls down, and Io in a, I love her celebration where she's like in this bridge after doing the German. She's celebrating while she's still on it. It's like her form with that, her balance with that, because she was on her toes too. Like just impressive work. And Io Sky is now the #1 contender for the Women's World Championship. And drop, we've reached the part where like, so this was one of the things that we were both spoiled on for this show. And it makes both of us kind of worried because it's like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Is Io gonna be just, is she just gonna be fed to Liv to make her feel more dominant? Or are we gonna get a story where like Io actually takes the title from Liv and we just kind of pivot the whole scene now to like be more Io centered as the world champion, or like Liv going for the tag titles with Raquel? Like there's a lot of implications going forward, and cautiously optimistic because on one hand, I know I'm a fan of Io Sky and I want her to succeed, and I'm glad she's getting an opportunity at the world championship. However, again, is she just going to be fed? So Drop, I'm gonna pivot to you now, like just like with your thoughts on all this as well, and just like again, I'm glad we had some time from getting spoiled now to just kind of like simmer on it and then see how it played out and hopefully see where everything goes from here. But like, I want to hear your thoughts just like right now on on this result going forward.
So when it comes to this, like I'm not opposed of Io Sky winning because like we discussed, she deserves it. She's a main eventer. So she deserves to be in a picture like that in her own right, because when you look at the top stars on Raw, if you're not including Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan at this moment, and with Becky Lynch taking, you know, as much time as she needs to do what she wants, the only other person that's very realistic when it comes to somebody that you could be like, okay, you know, that's main event material, that's Io Sky, because that's just how WWE built her. People accept her for that, and she's over with the fans. Everybody loves her. If Asuka was there, that would be another name too, but she's currently out. But my main issue with this is I kind of felt like, obviously, when it comes to the whole Rhea Ripley situation, it definitely changed plans, because I know originally when we were heading into the Survivor Series season, we were discussing that it would more than likely be well, even before that, because I remember they even recently reported it was supposed to be Raquel and Rhea at Crown Jewel, which more than likely the tag match replaced that, I would assume.
Yeah.
So we would have had that match, Rhea would have won, and then we would have had the Team Rhea versus Team Liv, and then after that we would have Team Rhea not Team Rhea, Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan as head our night main event. And I would assume that would conclude the feud. But since Rhea's out, and since it said that injury could last for about like 6, I was about to say 6 hours. I mean, I wish. But since it's supposed to last around 6 months, that's definitely changing the plans. So I don't want it to be one of these things where it's like, okay, Liv needs a new challenger. Let's give her Io Sky because Io Sky is believable, and she could bring Liv to a good match. Because I want to see the Sky Pirates themselves, but especially when it comes to Io Sky in this scenario, I want it to play out where she's actually able to focus on something else in the meantime, and then once we get close to Rumble season, and just keep in mind, you know, this was just our initial thoughts heading into next year, where we were agreeing that she would be a perfect contender to win that belt after she's done with Liv, so that way Rhea has like a fresh field where she could have somebody that's different Then Liv Morgan coming after the title, like you could actually build another feud, which these two have history and they put on fantastic matches back in the Black and Gold days. But like I just feel like I like it, but at the same time it feels like it's too soon because of what we predict, but obviously things might have changed now. And I don't want to see her just, like you said, fed to Liv Morgan just to make her look strong, coming out of Crown Jewel and everything like that. Like I just don't want it to be in that position where it's like, okay, EO, here you go. As like, no, like people like her deserve to be on top. People like her deserve to be, you know, in a better position than that. Because if that's the case, then I'd rather her and Kyrie just stick to the whole tag division scene and not get involved with Liv at all if we're venturing down that direction, rather than just stay there and focus on going after those titles if that's the case. But now what's going on with Bianca and Jade and Liv and Raquel, there could be some factors in that potentially happening. And let me see. And I'll bring up that thing that that tweet I posted in there earlier where this person was like, where is it? I just lost it. Oh, yeah, it's right. What? Oh, here it is. This person pretty much, why is it going all the way to the 28th? Holy crap. Yes, so it says right, this person says right here, you taking the title and putting it on EO and then using Liv and Raquel as a mini vehicle to Jade and Bianca split is the way to go here. I would personally venture down that direction because at least you can work out 3 stories in one. You could hit 3. You could use one stone to hit those 3 birds and take them out. I would definitely be okay with that. If you wanted to build multiple stories that's very compelling, that helps benefit EO, Liv and Raquel, and Bianca when it comes to everything that's revolving around that. But it's like so are you gonna have a Liv Morgan with the world title and the tag titles? Are you gonna have a Bianca and Jade split on top of that? Are you just gonna have Liv run through EO? Like it's just really hard to look at. It's like she deserves to be where she's in. I'm all for it. I just don't want her to be fed, and I can't say, and this is the only time I will say this, I can't really say we'll see what happens, because you can't really say, oh, we'll see what happens, we'll let it play out, because we kind of already know how it will play out if it does venture down that route. Especially if they really, really want to wait until Rhea comes back to conclude that feud, because if that's the case and they're gonna have Liv go through multiple people and just keep it there until Rhea comes back, I don't know if I'll be the plan of that. I'd rather them just put that on hold for now, especially if Rhea's gonna be out for so long, because you don't want it to be like get very, very stale. Like if you left a bag of chips open, they got stale. I'd rather them just venture back into that later in the year. And then later next year or something along the lines of that, and give us something else to work with in the meantime. Because, I mean, I'll admit that would be honestly an interesting plot twist if she actually does potentially beat her. Maybe it does happen because it's like I mentioned earlier. If you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Her and Raquel are already trolling Bianca and Jade. They cost them that #1 title shot against Liv for her title. So you never know. Hypothetically, let's say this doesn't take place at Survivor Series. Let's say hypothetically it does take place on a Monday Night Raw. Even though I personally believe it should take place at a pay-per-view. Let's say, or you know that it could happen at a pay-per-view still, and the same result may happen. But she keeps fucking around with Bianca and Jade. What if they return the favor and they cost Liv her belt by being obnoxious and stuff like that?
Yeah, because right here we have a tweet. We have a tweet with Bianca Belair saying that don't ever come from a tag team or attack my character. The quickest way to get me to do something is to tell me that I'm not going to do something, in all caps. And the last line she says is, next time at least swing back. How you gonna be a bully but can't fight back?
Well, you know, that's just bullies in a nutshell. Darn bullies.
but
So-
it just speaks to the character of Bianca, and it speaks to the character to Liv, that she wants to talk all the smack but has the security guard who cannot be a security and who cannot guard for the life of her. But then we have Liv who talks all this talk but then gets ready to be smacked. Like, Io is an interesting number one contender. I will say this: if Liv takes out Io, I'm okay with, because it will be showing the dominant, and she just won the crown jewel belt. So, alright, cool. It needs to be dominant. The question is, how long would this hold out? Because Liv being champion until WrestleMania, where if she continues the storyline of character with Raquel as the security, and it gets stale with her until WrestleMania, a lot of people are not gonna be for it, as much as that you could be a Liv fan. But if the character doesn't change and improves that, where she doesn't need Raquel and Liv could be her own character and stand on her own 2 feet without the security guard that is useless at her job, then maybe it was more believable depending on the story, how it changes in the next couple months. But I hope that if Liv does lose the belt, it happens from now until the Royal Rumble, and then we build up with something from there. It just depends who's the next lineup after Io to make it more believable. Because if Io probably could have a 2 out of 3 matches, I would say as well.
Yeah. See, that's the thing though. It's like there really isn't anyone believable on Raw outside of Io, and you can't say Zelina or Lyra because they haven't been built up to really be believable in that playing field when it comes to who Liv's gonna go up against next. And I can't really see Liv and Io being an ongoing feud that lasts until the end of the year, because it kind of feels like a placeholder feud for heading into Survivor Series. That's why I said before I can't say we'll see where it goes, because we kind of already got that answer.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna follow that trajectory with Liv, and more than likely, it probably will still be that same Liv we see now, because they haven't really convinced us when it comes to the story perspective of like what's going on with Liv, if she could do something outside of Rhea. Because ever since she became Women's World Champion, it's just been about Rhea to make it a compelling story between the both of them. She hasn't really gave us a legitimate reason as to what else she could really do when it comes to, okay, could she make a different story with somebody else without making fun of how they look or if they lost a match. Like, actually, just throw something in there that we can get like really hooked into and stuff like that. And I don't know what it is. It's just really hard for me to accept at the time being, unless Triple H decides to completely catch us off guard whenever this match happens. It's just kind of hard for me to see Liv dropping that belt without them concluding that Rhea story, because we've seen this play out with feuds in the past before. I think even like a more recent one too that happened. I'm trying to think of it on top of my head. Like I remember, I can't remember exactly what it was. It could have been something on I can't remember what it was on top of my head, but basically in a nutshell, this has just been an ongoing thing. I've seen it played out in WWE for years, but usually if they have a said person out on injury or whatever, they usually have that other person have the belt until they come back. Yeah. So it's kind of like, do they really want to drop the story without giving it a proper ending and just have Liv lose the belt and then just have Io go on with it and then completely forget about the story? Because I feel like then after that, people aren't going to really be that interested in the story anymore.
I think part of it too is like, because when we go back to what event was it? It might have been Berlin. I can't really recall. It was one of those. Oh no, it was just the like the Shark Cage match that we had at Bad Blood, when Raquel came back. Like, Rhea had every opportunity to beat Liv and get her title back, but she chose not to. Yeah, and I think that right there is a good clue and indicator to show that yes, the women's world title is part of the story, but it doesn't have to be the end of the story. Yeah, I'd rather them honestly like
finish their. Yeah. Even if they have a regular match, I'd be okay with that at this point.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. So, like, Rhea could finish off Liv, move on to whoever has the world title at that point, and then win it from them. And they could have, like, a deeper story with that. Be like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you did this, you did that, blah, blah, blah. But I think next week's tag match, the tag title match or
Yeah.
whatever, I think that'll be very, very telling with where we go. And
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
you could say that about everything else, but it's just like that one really, like in this instance, because of the whole pivot with Rhea being injured, I think next week's tag match is really going to be telling of where we're going to be going with these stories going forward there. But
Yeah.
I think that's enough talk about the women and all
yeah.
that, because we got some other matches to in a very scary video to talk about.
The torture one.
We get the torture one, yeah. But we got Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable, which this match had some heat behind it. Now, the story going into this is
Was
the
that
fact
Kurt
that
Angle, you mean?
I am going to come over there and roundhouse kick you.
Well, I'm
like
sorry.
Dragon Lee did tonight.
I'm just repeating what R-Truth said. He came at Chad Gable and said, "Yo, Kurt
That would be
Angle,
nice.
you look shorter, my guy," and just walk away.
I mean, if it was Perk Angle, that'd be a great match.
Oh, that
Oh my
was
God.
Perk
Give me
Chad
Perk
Angle was
Gable. Where's Perk Gable at?
Perk
Oh,
Gable was gone.
Yeah.
He's been losing. Dragon Lee came out. Rey Mysterio said, "Nah,
I think
I'm gonna help
Perk
out my
Angle
boy."
back then was a monster. I don't know if he would lose.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I think I recently saw a match he did in TNA. He did like some freaking somersault over like. I don't know,
off the stage?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like
that. That caught me off guard. I didn't know he had that in him.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, Perk Angle was a different beast back then. But yeah, we get Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable. So this gets set up because Chad Gable last week was an asshole. He cost LWO their match to get the #1 contendership for the men's world tag titles. And yeah, so Dragon Lee, since he's here in Saudi Arabia, at first I thought Ray wasn't there, but then he just came out, just walked out because, hey, he can't be asked to be out there with Dragon Lee. Like, what the hell was up with that? But
you
know,
could
that's
have
because Ray's
Zelina
a
Vega
piece of shit
there.
dad.
You could have Zelina Vega,
I
and
do-
you could also have Ivy out there. But
Yeah.
of course, for story purposes, because Zelina Vega is gonna help Chad Gable attack him, and then Ivy is gonna come and attack him.
Mhm. And I mean, I do appreciate seeing Zelina Vega and all that.
Oh,
so,
same.
Yeah, but
We are a big supporter of her. We'd love to have you on the podcast one day, and we would love to interview
Yeah, one day.
Zelina. We have anime and manga
Yeah.
questions, wrestling questions for all these type of things that you also talk
Yeah.
about in your podcast. So if you'd love to come on, please let us know if this clips ever gets clip out.
if it ever does. But yeah, these two had some really great chemistry though. Like Chad Gable at the beginning with some really good mat wrestling, and Dragon Lee being more of like the striker focused and all that. But I mean, I think the one moment that people are really going to be taking away from this match, or like
Is the
talking about the bump, yes, like that big bump that Dragon Lee took to the outside. Like,
He just got
The
look. He just
dude-
got picked up. He like alley-oop.
the dude literally like thudded on the ground like a rock almost like that. And not only that, like Chad was like throwing him into the turnbuckle very hard, and they were giving like really stiff shots to each other. But like, so like people are going to be talking about that landing, but the other sequence they're going to be talking about is that German suplex sequence where like they were no selling the Germans, and then like there were some standing switches and all that, and then like Chad doing the triple Germans, which led to Dragon Lee doing like a sunset flip powerbomb and all that. Like that whole sequence was pretty dang good. Like it showed that they're like kind of on equal footing in a way. And to be honest, if we get more matches like this between the two, they could be like the modern day version of Angle versus Rey Mysterio.
That's what's hoping. Like this
Saying
push.
that.
This push to them could be Raw's version of Carmelo and Arundra, like their
could
version,
be.
and that's what I hope that Adam Pearce does, because it's been slacking. It's been slacking in the most like the saddest way possible that this match of two characters that they should not be portrayed so weak. And
Yeah.
Dragon Lee, he should be deserved the love that he is getting. He's, I think, I believe, a second generation wrestler of lucha lore and everything. Like,
Hmm.
you got brought back, sorry, not brought back. You got brought up from NXT last year or earlier. No, yeah, last year. So like it just shows, and Chad Gable got this new, rewritten character over the past couple months. Great storyline with the Wyatt Six. So I hope what you said was a great example. The new version of Rey Mysterio, the new version of Per Gable, like Chad Gable could be the next person that we expect them to be. And if they could cook this, another 5-6 matches, if anything, if you could cook this well, have them have a PoE match at Saturday night main event, and there could be like there's 3 out of 5 match, if anything.
That would be a good match. Yeah, that's not a bad shout with that. I also like to this match had a good balance of like comedy segments along with good action segments, because like in the beginning of the match, like Chad Gable, he's trying to like rip the mask off of Dragon Lee and trying to like move his mask, and
Yeah, I think he
to
did rip
ruin
off
it and
one
all
of the
that.
tails, or one of the
Yeah.
things he had on him, because it was right in the middle of the mat the whole time. And
Yeah.
I believe Michael Cole or Corey Graves were trying to say something about it, and I was confused. But then once I saw the piece, I'm like, oh, that's probably like one of his tail things on top of his mask.
Yeah. And like I love how Dragon Lee basically retorted with this by pulling the singlet from Chad, and just like not only just pulling it and Chad complaining to the ref, but then Dragon Lee just like letting go and like the singlet snapping back on Chad, especially the front with that tender nipple, like it just like snapped on him, just like, why are you doing this? Why can't you just play by the rules? It's just like, dude, you were just doing that to me too.
Yeah, like you experiment with my mask. The fuck, like you are trying to mess up my vision. See what I'm doing? I'm gonna mess up with your fucking outfit. So makes sense. But I do want to say I'm really proud just of this match overall. Just seeing how well Dragon Lee and Chad Gable were. I hope to see more of them in the future.
Yeah, I really hope we do get a little bit more with them, because again, like they've got really good in-ring chemistry with each other, and I think that just kind of helps too, that like both of them are athletic enough to keep up with each other in the ring, and like especially too like with their styles. I mean, again, like Chad Gable being more of the mat man, being more of the I'm gonna ground you and all that, whereas Dragon Lee again being more of the high flyer, the fast paced action and all that. But like they could both compete with one another in their own fields, because like even Dragon Lee for a bit, like he was able to counter Chad Gable a bit, with the mat wrestling, and Chad Gable was able to keep up with some of Dragon Lee's speed and all that. Like, again, these were two warriors that are basically on equal footing, facing off against each other. So like, all it took was just one person making that first mistake and all that.
I'd love to
And
see
yeah, I think
a Chad Gable versus Braun Breaker. Because I noticed right now that we haven't seen Braun Breaker in the segment of Raw. So he probably didn't fly out, or he probably wasn't both for this weekend. Who knows? But when it comes to Dragon Lee winning over Chad Gable, I assume there will be another match of them next week that leads up to more. But I hope the outcome will lead to Chad Gable also going towards the IC title.
Yeah, I mean that would be nice, because yeah, I would like to see Chad versus Braun, but that would also be heel versus heel, unless like Braun actually does turn face, which I feel like once Braun is officially a face on Raw, I think then we'll get the Chad Gable match, because again, Chad being a heel and all that, he's not gonna face Braun Breaker heel versus heel and all that. But Drop, good timing. Did you have any comments to make about Dragon Lee taking on Chad Gable tonight?
I thought it was a good match. I mean, I expected no different between the both of them. My biggest question, because I did hear a couple things through my headphones because it's like so loud for some freaking reason. But
Sorry.
my oh no, that's fine because I at least was
Yeah.
able to understand what you guys were talking about, so I'm not gonna really repeat anything.
Mhm.
The only question I have is like, what's going on with Chad Gable? Because
Yeah.
I feel like ever since that big thing he had going on with Otis when he turned heel, had that program with Sami and everything, I'm wondering like the whole direction with American Made and him, like where are they going? That's the
Yeah.
thing I'm most interested in. Because from what it looks like they're gonna be having a feud with LWO. So based on like things we've seen prior, is it really going to advance anything or
That's why I said earlier that I'm hoping Chad Gable goes for the IC title instead. Like, move away from Dragon Lee. As much as I love Dragon Lee, but if I had to choose one or the other to continue
Yeah.
pushing, I would rather go for Chad Gable because Dragon Lee is still attached with the other people, and right now that as a group don't get moved much as even in
No.
Needle. So
No.
with the Creed
Yeah.
brothers and Chad Gable does, and at least with the Creed brothers, they could go for the tag titles, have great matches. But then we could go also for Chad Gable for the IC title because I don't want Chad Gable to lose his momentum because it felt like
Yeah.
it has. So I don't want it to lose too
Like
much
it has.
with the fire. So I agree with you, Drop. You are bringing facts like where has Chad Gable gone to, but hopefully that momentum don't get too stagnant too much, and hopefully this feud with WO don't stay more longer than it should.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping we move. I'm hoping Chad just starts winning. You know, like
That's
justify
the
the
thing.
heel turn. Like justify the heel turn. Justify him and the Creeds coming together. You know, Ivy's doing all right. I mean, she's
Yeah.
won a few matches, but like the matches she's won have been against. I mean, Maxine Dupree for one, which I mean that's fine, whatever. And then like Zelina Vega was a good start. So like we're progressing through the roster for her, but like with that being said, like she's at least doing fine. It's just the Creeds and
Yeah.
Chad, like
And plus,
they keep losing big matches
and
and not
plus
getting
also
the
being
opportunities.
heard
It's like
and
what?
told that the Creed brothers are not in Saudis because Julius is getting married, and Chad Gable was like, wait, so his wife is more important than me? How does that make sense? So
Yeah.
I mean, now you are my Lady Liberty. You are the one. Let's go out and talk about why you
Yeah.
mess up and everything. And I'm like, it feels like the repetition of the Otis and the other stuff. And Maxine Dupree, like it felt like it's going back to square one, just with a different group. And I don't want to go back that way. Like I want Chad Gable. I really fuck with you. Like you're my current version of Kurt Angle. I want you to continue greatness.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
all
like-
we want.
And if he were to head down the intercontinental direction, I mean, he would have to gain some wins under his belt to get there. And I mean, from the looks of it, we have a heel Braun Breaker, so I don't know if they're gonna do two heels.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
because that just ends in with like tricky booking and all that. Like,
Yeah.
who do you book as a baby face and all that stuff, which I mean, I would assume in that aspect it would probably be Braun in a way, because like we've already had like him show some face tendencies recently, especially when he first lost the IC title when
Yeah.
everyone thought he had turned face then. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
But talking about faces, we have some
Yeah.
problems brewing in your favorite tag team anniversary that's showing up in next week or in 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the month, they were saying. But yeah, we had the New Day taking on the War Raiders, which was set up because of last week's shenanigans, thanks to Chad Gable and all that. But like, we had a backstage segment really quickly between Xavier and Kofi. Not much to say beyond this because it's like they started to argue about last week, but then it was cut off by a Wyatt 6 video, but
No,
like
but
the whole thing here is like they're not on the same page, you know, and we saw that throughout, you know, throughout the past few weeks, but especially tonight because it's like Kofi is getting more and more agitated at Xavier Woods,
yep.
but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kofi, if you just if you trust in Woods, if you trust in what he does, because that's the thing, you guys have been a unit for almost 10 years now, so the trust should be there. The almost the sixth sense as a tag team should always be there, no matter what. So when you're setting up for like Trouble in Paradise, and Woods gives you a blind tag, you should, I would think in your mind, you would be like, okay, blind tag, great, bet. I'm still going to hit my finisher, and he's going to go for his elbow. Boom, wham, bam, thank you, man, we're done. I'll make sure that Ivar doesn't get in here, we'll win, all that stuff. You would think as a veteran, and as somebody who's been in a tag team for the past 10 years, would kind of think like that. I mean, I know I would, but you would think Kofi as a character would think of that. But he doesn't. He just, as soon as the blind tag happens, he stops, turns at Woods, and is just like, what are you doing? And they have a little argument, and then he eats an attack, and Woods eats the name of their finisher being the War Machine, apparently, and
Yep.
the Raiders win. So, like, I don't know. Am I just the odd one out here in thinking that maybe Kofi actually is the problem, and Woods' frustration is justified? Like,
So-
talk to me, folks.
If you don't mind, I would love to go first to interject that I really love just the facial expression that what Kofi was giving during his interview right before the Wyatt 6 interrupted.
I
that-
will
yeah.
say something. I'll give a little disclaimer. I don't have much thoughts on this, just because I didn't really
That's fine.
pay attention to it because I was doing something in the meantime. So if you want to just express how you guys feel, you can.
Copy, understood. Thank you. Drop.
Copy.
So when it came to this segment, Kofi gave great facial expression. It's like, imagine with your friend and you're hearing some most bullshit topic understanding, and you're like, bro, what the fuck you talking about? Like, like we're not even the same wavelength, and it shows that they're reading on the same book, but they're not on the same page. It sounds like Kofi and Xavier are now on page 21. One of them was on page 50, and one of them on page 20. They're not. They're not on the same page, and it shows that Xavier wants to take lead. But thing is, how can Kofi let him be lead if you keep trying to interject, or you're not even trusting the calls? And I have to agree with Watkins. Watkins said it is that if you've been as your partner for 10 years, and you know their moves, you know that if he tags you, continue doing your thing. Do your Trouble in Paradise. Let Xavier do his thing, do his finisher, then you watch. Cause that means Xavier is gonna take the pin and he's gonna take the W. But Kofi, your job is now after Trouble in Paradise, you make sure that nobody comes in and interrupts.
Yeah.
But then you didn't.
Yeah.
You froze. You was a bit annoyed of that. Why would you be annoyed that your boy is gonna do a blind tag and help you out to make sure that you take this W? But you was questioning too much, and that made me feel like, bro, stop questioning. Go with the flow. Ask questions after. But then even after they lost, Kofi was like, bro, this was your fault. When Kofi, you gotta do your homework like the other babyfaces are doing. Go back, look at the tape, look at the fucking tape, and know that Xavier gotta tell us next week, like, look, guys, or he's gonna show another type of video on social media, be like, look, Kofi, look at this. This right here, this is how we fuck up. I blind tag you here, but then instead you're supposed to go do the Trouble Paradise, but then we were supposed to go here together. But instead, you was questioning too much here. That's how it should be. Xavier gotta give him the play-by-play.
Yeah. Hopefully they can come together and the New Day can just stay together and not break up, because that would be nice. That would be glorious. Because
If that day happens, we're gonna have the most rantest of days when it comes to walk-ins on that podcast.
if that day happens, y'all have fun on that night of the podcast, because I will not be present.
Oh, he's gonna
I
be
will
like,
be in angry boy.
Be the
Well,
angry boy
nah,
online.
I say
But
that, but
when it comes to the fight, though, I do want to give a big shout out to the War Raiders and the War Machine. Great type of finisher. Nice to finally know the name. Great setup. I love how Ivar gets himself ready. Like, he kind of goes that 1, 2. All right, jump to the rope, do the jump, take him down. Like, I love how he gets himself ready to the finisher. So that's one little thing I noticed. I'm starting to notice a lot more when the wrestlers are getting the spots ready. You see how they take their little 1-2 breather, get the little momentum going. So I'm starting to notice and catch those things. So it's pretty, fun for me on my end while I'm watching and being entertained by it. But the War Raiders are so good, and it's really great, and I appreciate Corey Graves to give us the backstory and the resume that the War Raiders have done over the years. Seeing, hearing, I believe, Ivar, tag team partner, I'm drawing blank on his name. He had a motorcycle accident, and then Ivar had also had to do surgery. So Corey Graves just gave a whole like a background explanation. I was very appreciative to know. Instead, like, some viewers cannot go online, do a quick research, read the history, or watch a YouTube video. Corey Graves, just gave us nice clip notes. Hey guys, this is the great history of the War Raiders and what they've been through. We're so happy why they're here, and they're giving us the story because maybe most likely it will be having them leading to be the winners over the Judgment Days. So showing this backstory and showing this type of, like, this is what they gone through and this is why they will be winning and why they deserve it.
Yeah. Hopefully they do, because it's like we saw on, like, SmackDown with the tag team titles over there. I'm honestly hoping we get a change in the Raw scene, because if you're willing to elevate the story even further with the Bloodline, then you could easily do that with the Judgment Day, because that's pretty much what they were trying to build Judgment Day around, being like the second compelling story within the industry. So they could easily take the tag titles off of them. They clearly don't need it. They don't really acknowledge them at all. So it's not like it's going to make a difference if you just take them away. And if anything, it would benefit them in the long run, just like how it did with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. I mean, it just benefited them more, because now you could actually elevate the tag division over there. And that's something I'm hoping we can do with War Raiders when they go up against Judgment Day.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. With all this New Day War Raiders shenanigans going on. Unfortunately, with our backstage argument that was happening, that was interrupted by The Miz, who was kidnapped a week ago. And no sign of him. Karen Cross was going to save him, but I guess he got distracted by something. I don't know. But we get a fun little video here of The Miz basically being tied up, begging for his life, being like, I'm not part of the Final Testament. You just go after those guys. Just do things with them. It's like, well, no, Miz. You're kind of the target. Like, you're the one that I have issues with. You're the one I have beef with. So this video segment was short, it was sweet, it was to the point, but it was also, like, very, very unsettling. I love
how Michael Cole told the audience, just be advised that we, the production team, was not aware of this video, and we do not hold any, law rights. We are not aware about this, so do not sue us. Like, I felt like he just had to give the disclaimer to know, like, we don't know how this happened. Yeah. We aware this. He hijacked our Pine Network feed. Once again, I'm like, sure, Michael Cole.
Sure. You guys didn't just record this the other day and then edit it and all that.
I appreciate, as somebody who is a Raw fan but has a gap that I missed, I didn't know about The Miz and I forgot his actual normal name. Not the Wyatt.
Bo Dallas?
Yeah, Bo Dallas. Thank you. When he was Bo Dallas in The Miz back years ago, I do not remember when this happened, but this most likely happened back in 2016 to 2022. I assume so.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of video package, and little type of B-roll they did with the White Six, it was really nice and helpful for me to understand why Bo Dallas has a history with the Miz. And I will say this: I thought the person at first was White Six, the Bo Dallas, on the chair. But then once the mask got taken off and the black tape, like, oh, that's the Miz. At the whole time, it's just the whole crazy, and like the tape and everything, which the Miz, appreciate for your acting skills, man. Like, you was showing up, being the acting like you was in Wanted or any type of action star, and you're being tortured. You felt the presence. You knew how to hit the number, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know, like, I'm assuming this, I mean, this is obviously probably going to be leading to like a multi-man match with everybody, because like I feel like after this, Miz is actually going to be trying to just have the final testament around so they can, you know, kind of protect him, because like that's the thing, Miz has always been somebody that, like, he never really truly fights for himself. He usually tries to weasel his way out of things and try to like get other people to do his dirty work and all that. So there could be a thing, but like at the same time, he doesn't really want anything to do with Final Testament
as well, because
and the Wyatts, yeah.
Because it's also curious to know with Karrion Kross. I'm glad that if anybody doesn't follow him on social media, he's still looking for the Miz, because I don't think he posted the video today. I believe he posted the video yesterday. He found the Miz, the toy figure of the Miz, in a Target store. He like,
That's funny.
he like, I'm looking for the Miz. Oh, I found you, and just walk away like, I found you. I'm good to go. You're a lot smaller than I remember. And then after the video cuts, I'm like, Karrion Kross, I appreciate you. You're still continuing the story outside of the story, but you're making it believable for the audience and fans to not be unaware that you're not gonna show up tomorrow, but still be part of it. And the Miz literally just kind of snitched, saying like, hey, just go fight after the Final Testament. So hopefully Karrion Kross saw this clip, like, hey, Miz, I heard that you kind of throw him into the bus and saying that to go after us by choice, even though he said that you're the problem, so you're the issue. So now we have something common, that they attack one of our guys and they're coming after you. We gotta stick together now. So hopefully it comes to in that type of conversation as well, with like, you're my friend, but we also gotta go for the enemy, so we gotta join forces. Some, you know, the talk no jutsu.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, any other thoughts on this short video segment that we got?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, he kind of had it coming to him, because there's always a reason why they go after people, and it's family focused when it comes to like treating people wrong and all that. So if Miz didn't treat Truth the way he did, he wouldn't be put into this situation. So I mean, if anything, he has to blame himself because of what he did. So I don't really have that much. I don't really have much to say on this stuff.
Yeah.
Do we say this for the transition for the overall thoughts about R-Truth? Because this also was R-Truth just walking around backstage. He also mentioned Pete Dunne instead of Butch. I love R-Truth. He is a comedy star in the most smallest way possible. I know a lot of people may not care for it in that aspect, but R-Truth just literally gonna Pete like, hey Pete. But Butch was about to say, don't call me Butch, but then he got him to say like, hey Pete. And then after that, he walked to somebody else saying like, don't call Butch Pete. He don't like being called Pete. So he continued to trick people around. So I just love that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I love Truth. I love Truth a lot. All right. Well, hey, that was Raw, everybody. That was Raw's beautiful, wonderful, awesome Monday night version of their show from Saudi Arabia. The night was fine. The event was fine. The show was fine. It kind of sucks that me and Drop were spoiled on this. I mean, at least in one aspect, it didn't suck because time can help you process things and all that. But like, I don't know, these taped shows are hit or miss a lot of the time. Most of the time, they also feel like house shows, which can be fun, good or bad, however you take your live shows and all that. But I mean, it was fine. Again, this is the closing action stuff for Crown Jewel. We're moving forward towards Survivor Series, and we got a few lanes that we're going to be going down, few stories that are cooking right now, but hopefully that meal is a nice Thanksgiving feast that we can all just gouge and get fat on during that weekend. But Vash, how'd you think of the show overall tonight?
The show's a lot of fun. Our Truth is a comedy star. He knows how to tell our boy Damian Priest, my apologies for kicking you out of the Judgment Day. Damian Priest just laughing it off, like, yeah, sure, my guy, no problem. Anytime things happen, so you gotta understand that our Truth is just being our Truth at the job, at work, and I can't wait to hopefully we see the NXT version of Bianca as well, because I wasn't there. Yes, I could see the clips, but I wasn't there during the time, and I would love to see that. But like the guys brought up earlier, that she's a role model. A lot of people love her. For her to go back to a heel version where she's like the John Cena version of our female stars, and if we get her to be a heel, we don't know how would that hurt. So really curious to see if that happens within the next couple weeks or months. If we might get that, but who knows?
All right, yeah, who knows? Well, I mean, Triple H knows, but we don't know because we're the consumer. But Drop, what did you think of Raw overall tonight?
So my overall thoughts on the show, I mean, I thought it was a solid show for what it was. It obviously gave us some things to talk about throughout the show when it comes to the women's division and how things could head there. Obviously gives us some leadway into Friday when it comes to the Bloodline stuff. So from that point, I did really appreciate, and I'm just basically ready for this Friday, so everything could be live. We don't have to worry about any more tape shows anymore. So
yeah. Yep, same here. Well, hey, that was Raw, and that was Weebs of the Ring. So, a good show overall from all strings of life. But as we close out our Monday night, as we close out our evening, if you guys want to talk to us, we are on social media. We are social creatures at heart. And, as much as I could always spout out where you could follow us and find us and all that stuff, I'm a lazy piece of shit tonight. So I'm going to let Vash take hold of that. Vash, tell the lovely people just where exactly they can find us.
Well, sometimes you gotta be a lazy piece of shit because you gotta hit the links. You gotta, scroll down the hand. You know why? You can just go to the finger if you're on the mouse, if you're on a keyboard, if you're on a tablet. Go press that red button if you have it. Subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button. If you hit the dislike button, let us know why you dislike us. Go down the comment section below. And lastly and foremost, follow us on all social media on Weebs of the Ring, at the hashtag or the handle on TikTok, Instagram, IG, MySpace, AIM.com, AOL, and also on Twitter/X. And if you want to see more of the Weebs Ring content, check out this Thursday. What time? To be determined. But Thursday evening, we have a show called Grappling of the Week. We used to have that segment on a Friday Night SmackDown, but now we're making it to show to talk about the news. So if you have any questions, use the hashtag, join our Discord, follow us on social media, and let us know what you guys think and have any questions for us to discuss about pro wrestling.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, so keep an eye out for our new show known as Grappling of the Week. What is that going to entail? It's going to entail a lot of news and a lot of things outside of the normal programming that we cover. But hey, that was the show, and I'm gonna do my best impression of ASMR tonight. So thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, why not do exactly what Vash just said? We are known as Weebs of the Ring on all social media platforms. Also, be sure to use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring to interact with us about anything regarding wrestling before, during, or after our shows. Feedback is always appreciated, as we are nothing without you tuning in. Hold on, since I am doing somewhat of an ASMR thing here. I gotta, do a little bit of that for all you folks out there. Just a little bit of the clicking of the lips. Okay, great, awesome. So just know that Weebs of the Ring is presented by AniMa W3 Studio. Thanks to our production team of Vash, Walkins, Drop This Box, and Rome. Thank you for joining us, and remember, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Anime and wrestling collide.
Yeah.